In this week's episode of Let's Talk About It, we're going to explore what it looks like to forgive, but still have boundaries. And then we're going to talk about what it looks like to choose what to eat for dinner. You've made it. You're here. Now let's talk about it.
Well, hello there.
Yo.
And welcome to an episode of Let's Talk About It. I'm Malcolm.
And I'm Micah. You had a really long pause there, so I was going to say, he's Malcolm. And then you would have had no time to think about responding. So
I would have just said nothing and looked at you, and then you'd have to take it from there.
Yeah, it would have been nice and awkward for everyone.
I like to change up the intro every once in a while, you know? Different inflection points.
Longer pauses,
all of those things. It's good to keep people on their toes. Micah, my love, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great.
I don't believe you.
No, I mean, you know, harder days come, easier days come after that, and then more days.
So we're just going to speak in code on this podcast? That's what we're doing? We're just going to speak in code?
Yes, today is a lesson in code speak. No, but how are you?
You know, post-election, you know, feeling...
Wow, it is post-election,
yes,
isn't it?
Yes, I watched a lot of CNN over the last week. Yeah, it's been a fun week. But, you know, feeling good. Hopefully be feeling better.
Right, whatever that looks like.
Yeah, I don't know. Uh-huh.
Yeah, I mean, briefly on the topic. A, I don't know how to feel. B, one way I do know how to feel is grateful. Mm-hmm. But there's also this like tension that I'm still holding in my shoulders.
That's weird.
Like, what's going to happen next?
In the words of Elsa, let it go.
I'm trying. Trust me, I'm trying. Yes, but we have a fun episode for today.
Allegedly.
Although we say that about all of our episodes.
Yeah, we do. We really do.
But this time it's extra true.
Extra true.
Oh, so let's see. We're going to start off with a pretty big topic. Forgiveness and boundaries. So why don't we just dig in? Malcolm.
Yeah.
What do you think in response to this question? Does one have to reconcile when they forgive?
Just define reconcile.
I guess. So in my mind, if forgiveness is necessary at all, that means there's been a rift in the relationship.
Yes.
There's been a at least perceived offense. And so I guess reconciliation would mean repairing the relationship to the state it was in before the offense. That's my very rough attempt at a definition off the top of my head. So with that definition in mind, what say ye?
And the question is, if you forgive, do you have to reconcile?
Yeah, like are you obligated to work to get the relationship back to what it looked like before?
Not in every case, I don't think it's obviously a case by case basis. It's not black and white. But I think there's some relationships that are altered and cannot be repaired, especially if it's like a issue of God forbid, abusive situation, or when you feel like you're in physical or emotional danger. It's
not safe.
Yeah, when a person shows you that they don't really have regard for that, for your emotional or physical safety, I think that's a place where you need to create some sort of boundary. But That's like the first example that comes to my mind when I think of, but there are also relationships like in a marriage relationship. You know, you work to reconcile and fix and repair.
And I think that, I mean, marriages by virtue of what they are, they've got some different rules at play, right? Like I think, and I want to preface this by saying I do not condone abuse of any kind in a marriage. And so the conversation I'm about to enter into has nothing to do with abuse. So if you're listening and you're dealing with something that looks like abuse or you know it's abuse, this is not me saying to stay. I want your safety above whatever obligation people are saying you have.
Absolutely.
So with that said, marriages do have a different set of rules. Like I think for marriage to kind of transcend all other relationships, right? Because that's kind of the onus that we put on marriages, that you do have a different level of commitment. I'm not saying anything super profound, but that different level of commitment says that you're willing to reconcile after certain offense that, say, you wouldn't be willing to reconcile after in a friendship, or even in some cases in a familial relationship. So yeah, the forgiveness within marriage, I think, should be a separate conversation just for the sake of this. But now that you've brought the safety word up, goodness, I think that's such a loaded word, because is every offense an issue of emotional safety? I think lately I've seen people throw this S word, safety, onto every conflict. And I don't know if I agree with that. Like, I think some perceived offenses are just that. Like, you two are chafing in areas of personality or behaviors that come natural to each of you that just don't mix well. Like, I don't know if it's always an issue of safety. What do you think?
I think it's varying. I think it's varying degrees of safety. Like, it's not a
one size fits all.
Yeah, it's not, and it's some people's requirement for safety is different than other people. So an offense for one person might not be like, if a person has had a relationship in the past where they've been physically abused, then any show of any sort of physical aggression, even if it's not an actual striking of a person,
right, but it sends them back to that,
right? Or a person that's maybe has an issue with alcohol and they're around a person who just doesn't care and just comes around them and is belligerently and is asking them to get involved and drink. It's like, that's a different level of safety that may not be an issue for somebody else. So it's like it's different per person, but then it's also, I think there's varying degrees. I think at some level, anything that requires an apology or reconciliation, there was an issue of safety at some level involved in the conflict. Whether it's, where it is on that safety spectrum depends on the person, it depends on the situation.
Yeah, and that, I mean, to track with you, that person gets to decide, what their level of safety is. And I mean, to be honest, it really isn't, the other person doesn't have an opportunity to dispute that. You know what I mean? Like, they don't get to say, I disagree with you. I don't really think that's an issue of safety. So yeah, I think I'm tracking with you there. Maybe I renege. Gasp. Do we have a sound effect for that? No. Okay, maybe next week.
I don't know them that well. I could guess. It'd be fun. It'd be way more fun if I guess, though.
Oh my. Okay, guess. Okay, here's the sound effect in response to me saying I renege.
Okay, so I know what these two are, so I know it's not that. I think it's this one. Nope. I was wrong.
But maybe.
Yeah. Nope, that's not it.
Okay. Oh, well, now this has just become World of Wonder.
Is that it?
Maybe that's it. Okay. Whatever serious tone that we had in this conversation is gone. Ruined. Yeah. So, okay. So we've had the conversation about, do we need to reconcile or return the relationship back to the original state? We've had the conversation about, is every perceived offense an issue of safety? And to that we say yes, because that person who has perceived the offense gets to decide. They get to define that for themselves. But what we haven't done is describe or try to put into words what forgive even means. Because I think that's really what we're talking about in between the lines. Because a lot of people, the reason I brought up that original question is I think the message that I was sent from many of my younger years is, if you forgive someone, then the relationship looks the way it did before you were mad. And as I've grown up and I've been through some more complex relationships, I've learned, well,
I mean, you don't have to talk about me like I'm not in the room.
Oh, cheese and rice.
Gosh.
Okay. Anywho, because I'm still very much in love with you, so that's not even what we're talking about.
Oh, you trying to butter me up?
Maybe. But yeah, just like as relationships get more complex, you see that that's not true. But in seeing that that's not true, then your definition of forgiveness gets more complex too.
Yeah.
So I don't know. For you, what comes to mind? Like when someone says the word forgive, what behaviors or like internal thoughts and decisions does that involve?
So we're thinking from the perspective of the person that is being asked, that is asking for forgiveness, or is that is
doing the forgiving.
That is doing the forgiving. So what do I think of the word forgive from that perspective? I mean, gave me a hard question to answer.
It is hard to answer, right?
It is.
In the workplace, it looks different.
Who cares about the workplace?
Yikes.
Forgiving in the workplace is just ignoring it and doing more work together. That's what that is.
I mean, right? Like, let's pretend like it never happened,
right.
is what forgiveness means.
Act like we like each other when we have to see each other. That's basically what that's about.
Which has its own functions, I mean,
yeah, forgiveness is, it's layered, and it's layered, and I think there's a level of empathy that needs to be there. A level of understanding what you have to really understand what your offense was and why it was offensive. If I try to apologize for something that I don't know what it really is, that is that a real apology? And is that really?
So is this the person who's being forgiven?
I've lost whoever is. I don't remember which.
We need to draw a
person is
diagram. I think what I hear you saying is the person who's maybe asking for forgiveness or who did the offense, that it's helpful for them to understand and to have empathy for the person that they harmed or offended. Yeah.
That's an important aspect of it. I think another important aspect of forgiveness is kind of foregoing. I mean, if you look at the way that forgiveness is portrayed in the Bible, it's like the foregoing of, I don't want to say justice. That sounds so.
Yeah, I see what you mean. So maybe not justice, but like, because, I mean, justice is going to be done, right? But maybe the you forego the repayment or some kind of retribution, at least from that person who caused the offense. Yeah.
So wait, if I don't forgive, I can like get vengeance?
That's how some people define it. Like, I ain't forgiven you yet, so I'm gonna get my get back. I've heard some people say versions of that. Yeah. And I mean, I think if we follow that definition through, if you still expect repayment from the person who hurt you, then you might feel justified in getting it for yourself. Yeah. But in the act of forgiving, you say, I mean, what is it like? Colossians chapter 3, maybe. It's dangerous to just make that guess on a recording that's going to be out there forever.
You're usually right. Close.
I might be wrong. Somewhere in Colossians, I think there's this image of the account being cleared, and that this is one of the many images of forgiveness that Jesus is aligned with, and what he accomplished on the cross is the account's been cleared. What humans were due to pay, they're no longer due to pay because someone else paid it. Yeah. So yeah, I think that definition, I like that definition because I think that's how I think of it too. Yeah. If I have forgiven someone, then, for example, if I see them on the streets again, I don't expect them to apologize. I don't expect them to bring it up. I don't expect to feel justified in me bringing it up. It's just the account is cleared. But to go back to your point earlier, is it safe to have the same kind of relationship that I had with them before? That's a whole different question. It is. So I wonder, like, how do we answer that question then? I kind of like what you brought up earlier, which is if this person is just, they have no regard for your feelings and they've demonstrated that to you several times, I think that's a reason not to reconcile, so to speak.
I mean, repeated offenses is another thing. It's like,
yeah, like they do it over and over.
If it's something that, especially if it's something that's really one of your pet peeves or really something that,
and you've like verbalized it to them several times.
That's I think another place where it's healthy to create a boundary. Yeah. And then if a person doesn't really show contrition. Yeah. Like if you hurt me and you're just
like you don't feel
about
anything?
it and you're just, well, I'm not wrong. I didn't do nothing wrong. It's like, ugh, well, yikes. If we can agree on that, then how can this relationship continue? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And so in that case, so maybe this is a different conversation for a different episode, but boundaries has become a very like abstract word. So when we say forgive, but with boundaries, I think to like put flesh on it in the like just really briefly, that means you've forgiven them, but you're only allowing yourself to engage in certain behaviors with them. You're only allowing them certain accesses to parts of your life, or even like your internal world. Yeah. Like if it's an emotional offense and like say this person keeps disrespecting you or they keep bringing up something that they know is painful to you, then maybe the boundary is you choose not to share intimate things with them in the future. The access piece. Yeah. So I just wanted to like, that helps me to kind of think, okay, what are boundaries? I think boundaries are about behaviors and access if I were to.
And it's about, I mean, intimacy is a word that's kind of got like a sexual or romantic connotation, but intimacy is just closeness in a relationship.
Exactly.
And so that is really what a lot of it in relationship comes down to is what level of intimacy are you comfortable with?
Yeah. And I think, to your point, maybe intimacy is really about access.
Yeah.
Like what?
And that's emotional access. That's relational access.
Yeah. Or even like access to your time.
Yeah.
Like if a person has repeatedly hurt you, they're not responsive to your pleas to stop, then maybe they don't need as much access to your time as they had before. Yeah. Just to protect you, from potentially being hurt again. Or, I mean, in a sense too, people who are in the process of forgiving, and I like to call it a process, and I would say, I think scripture calls it a process too, when we're told to forgive 70 times, 7 times. Sometimes being with that person kind of reminds them and sends them back to that time when they were hurt. And so limiting access to their time just helps them heal. So, yeah. It's a complicated thing.
It's complicated.
But I think ultimately, like if I were to sum up this conversation, the person who has perceived the offense or has been hurt, like you really get to make that decision. I think for me, I feel sad when people feel obligated to
completely reconcile.
Right. When in their gut, they don't feel safe to do it, or they don't. Yeah, they just haven't healed to the point of doing that. So it's really your choice. And like, you get to decide what access someone has to you. Really, regardless of how far you are in the forgiveness process either. You know, those two things don't have to coincide. Yeah. Yeah.
So we figured it out. We figured out forgiveness.
There it is. There it is, everybody. Go ahead and wrap that up in a neat little bow. It's free, so you can just kind of just distribute it as you like.
But we love to hear you guys' experience with forgiveness and boundaries. So on social media, use the hashtag #TalkAboutIt. POD. We love to hear your experiences, what you learned, how you see things differently, or even if you have a different opinion than us, we'd love to hear about that.
We always do, respectfully. But yeah, we love to hear differing opinions. So, you know what's interesting?
Go.
As we arrive at this topic of choosing what to eat for dinner, I think we've done pretty well the last few weeks.
We've eaten out a lot.
So you don't have to say all that in the microphone.
What's wrong with that?
We're supposed to be fiscally responsible and whatnot. We have not been the last several weeks. We just need to be honest about that. Part of it is stress eating. I think our bodies are like, carbs and sugar, please. They have been cooked by someone else.
That's true.
So, the age-old topic of choosing what to eat for dinner.
Relationships have risen and fallen on this topic.
on this hill, relationships have died. Yeah. So what makes this so hard? Maybe we start there. I make this so hard.
What? In our instance, we have two different philosophies when it comes to eating.
Oh, you know what? I appreciate you saying it that way.
There's two different philosophies.
What's yours?
Mine is that I need variety. Variety is the spice of life. I don't want to eat the same thing twice, 3 times in a week. Like, even if I love a food, I want to have something different the next day.
See, that's what's confusing for me, because if you love a food, then you want to spend time with it, right?
I want space between. I will ask when I'm like, for example, if I go to Chipotle, I get either the chicken or the steak. But what I get depends on what meals I've had that week. If I've had steak the day before, I'm going to go with chicken. If I had 2 chicken meals earlier in the week, I'm going to go with the steak. I need the variety.
So y'all, I love this man with my whole heart, but I do not understand. Let me tell y'all my philosophy. Food for me, and I think I've noticed this recently, I'm a bit more of an emotional eater than I realized. So I appreciate the familiarity of food. Like food is like, I wonder if it's been grounding me, because it's like, okay, my tongue knows, my taste buds know these flavors. When I go to Chipotle, I get the same thing every time. I get a chicken burrito with some mild tomato salsa, some mild roasted corn salsa. What else do I get? I usually get white rice. And if I'm trying to be fancy and all healthy, I'll get brown rice.
So you get white rice.
And then I get my sour cream, no lettuce. And so my taste buds say, you know what? I've had a stressful week, but this Chipotle right here that tastes the same that it did today and yesterday, this is my grounding place. This is my place of peace.
Let me tell them what else happens when we get to Chipotle. We walk up to the counter, and my wife, knowing that she's going to get the same thing she got every other time she's coming to Chipotle, says, "You go first. I need to look at the menu." No, you don't. Okay. You really don't. Need to
No.
You're
not going to do that.
Go ahead. You go first. I'm not ready yet.
Y'all, I'll be stroking my chin like I'm thinking.
I'm like, Michael, I could do your order right now.
You really could. It's the same every time. But I feel adventurous for a couple seconds before I walk up to the sneeze guard. And then my taste buds say, no.
Stop it.
We need something familiar. Hush your mouth.
So like that is one of our struggles.
Yeah.
Is that I want to try some different
That's the
stuff.
crux of
well,
it.
Michael will eat at the same 6 restaurants.
I will. BB
over
Bob.
and over again.
You know, okay, let me say this disclaimer. We're not getting any promotional.
No, but if you guys would love to pay us, I would be so happy.
We will gladly take it if you want to, but
Preferably not in BB Bop gift cards. That'd be great. If we have something else,
I don't agree with that.
Well, I can't. I'm not gonna eat a BB Bop gift card.
Anywho, yeah, like I have the same like 5 or 6 restaurants that I will gladly patronize. And Malcolm is like, no, I want to have adventure. I want to explore.
It doesn't even have to be a new restaurant. Just a restaurant that we haven't.
No, I think for you it has to be a new restaurant.
It doesn't even have to be that. It could be. So, Micah, there's some weeks that you ask me what I want to eat, and what do I say?
I mean, what comes to mind is I don't care.
No, there's that. I get to that because I was like, I don't even want to have the conversation. But it doesn't even matter. Just something that we haven't had before.
Yeah.
And then Micah looks at me like I'm crazy and says, what other restaurants? I remember, this is funny, early in our relationship, Micah would suggest a restaurant and I'd be like, I don't really want that. Well, fine, you just pick what you want. I was like, you're going to just completely bust out because I didn't pick the one you want? Well, what else is there?
Did say that.
It's 7:00 on a Wednesday. There's a lot of different options other than the one that you picked.
Y'all, I was as true as I'm sitting in this skin. So serious when I said that. I remember that moment. 'Cause I was like, what else is there? Because in my brain, there were only 6 restaurants. And you had crashed them all to the ground. Okay. So to answer the question, what makes it so hard to choose what to eat for dinner? Differing philosophies, or I think you and I have different relationships with food.
Absolutely.
I would say that. Like, for me, it's like a grounding. This is familiar. This is my place of peace. And for you, it's like, it's a realm of exploration and adventure. And that sounds scary to me. Like trying new foods, I didn't really do that until you and I got married.
You're welcome.
To be honest.
You're welcome.
And now I feel like I should go apologize to my mom because I really made her just cook like this, the same thing.
Maybe your mom wanted to cook the same things over and over again.
Maybe. I mean, I was pretty emotionally flexible, so she might have just been doing it to have some peace in the house.
It's pretty self-centered of you to think
I'm
that
gonna
you
call her
controlled
later.
your mom's menu.
Look,
With your
now
emotions.
we can have a conversation about parenting now if you want. My mom was amazing. She knew how to keep the peace with this emotionally flexible child.
What do you think are some other challenges that people face with
Choosing dinner.
I mean, because
financially, there's one.
Well, that's the other. That's the other.
That limits your choices right there.
Absolutely.
And there's been some. Woo! The Lord has brought us a mighty long way.
He's still yet working with us.
He's still yet working.
There was one night I think it was either about to be too late where our options were going to be limited, or it was already too late. And it was like, well, McDonald's is open. I was like, if we have to eat McDonald's, I'm not eating.
I'm not eating. You did
not
say
doing
that.
it. I'm just
And
not.
what did we do? We had some cereal.
I don't know, but I did not have McDonald's.
Yeah.
No. I haven't had McDonald's since then, actually. Thank God.
That's right.
That
was a turning point for us. I really felt for you that night.
Look, I don't even really like McDonald's like that.
Yeah, I don't. Does anyone? Well,
yes, they make a lot of money.
Yeah,
people obviously do. So, like, when it gets down to that, like, I don't want to eat.
Yeah.
Like, here's the other debate for us is dessert, because I am semi-lactose intolerant and don't do ice cream at all. And my wife loves ice cream, so she'll just be like, amazing. "Oh, I can get ice cream from here or here or here," and I'm like, all those places just sell ice cream, so what am I supposed to do? But then
you could do what so many other Americans do, which is just eat it and suffer through it.
No, I'm good, thank you.
No thanks.
But then it's like, well, we can get you something from the grocery store, and I was like, no, if I want dessert, I want like for real.
Yeah.
I want some for real dessert. I don't want to go to the bakery section of Kroger and buy some cookies. I want cheesecake from Cheesecake Factory.
Okay, see,
or I want a brownie sundae, or I want a brownie explosion from such and such. Or like, I don't want or the Great Wall of Chocolate from P.F. Chang's. Like, I don't want to just. You and this
cheesecake, that's fancy. That's fancy dessert.
But when I want dessert, I want dessert. I don't want a half step.
Y'all.
I want a half step. If we
so
gonna do
all
it,
of us ice cream eaters,
we
we just
gonna
get
do
the
it.
half step, and you
but
get
no, y'all
cheesecake.
get to go. Y'all can get ice cream from anywhere. The grocery store, the gas station. Y'all, there's no specific brownie places
That's true.
that aren't expensive as all
need
get
to be
out
more
or open
inclusive.
late.
You're right.
Ice cream places be open till 10 o'clock.
That's true. There's a lot of love for ice
So
cream
it's like,
lovers.
man,
I know. So now we've begun making brownies and things.
or I just
at
don't
home.
do dessert. It's like you can
Yeah.
do ice cream, but it's not going to do anything.
You've got an amazing restraint. It's wonderful.
If
to
I
see.
can't get what I want for dessert,
then I have nothing at all.
I'm not going to be unhappy eating dessert. Mediocre dessert, it's no fun.
Wow, that'll preach.
That's another thing. I think like quality of food matters and makes you motivated to eat it or not. If it's not something that you really want, like I'd rather just cook than if we're going to eat that.
Yeah, I don't share that philosophy.
Like our great hibachi debate.
Okay, you really gonna?
Yeah, let's talk about it.
We're gonna talk about it.
Talk all about it. I only want good hibachi. My wife just wants hibachi
Because
from
hibachi
anywhere.
is amazing. Okay, I love hibachi, and I'm just gonna stop the conversation there.
There's some bad hibachi.
You know what? No, there was that one place where I'm pretty sure the rice was plastic.
If the restaurant name has hibachi in it, it's probably not good.
Okay, not necessarily. Not necessarily. And I'm not going to be calling out restaurants
There's
now.
Benihana and those type of restaurants, whatever in your region it is.
And then there's the McDonald's of hibachi.
And then there's those restaurants that are right under there. And then there are the places that you're just like, y'all shouldn't be doing this.
We don't have those places nearby.
Yes, we do. Well, we have nothing nearby where we live.
That's true. We're out in who knows where.
In an undisclosed location.
In an undisclosed location. That's why I was sitting here. I was about to name off street intersections and whatnot.
Ain't gonna find me.
Careful.
Ain't gonna find me.
Okay. So, in conclusion, the wife makes it difficult.
It's not always the one.
No, I'm just kidding.
Because this time I just don't care.
You know what? You do have a lot of grace for me, and I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I really do.
It saves energy when you know when you don't care.
Y'all, that's that's another episode because I cannot count how many disputes, I'll call them disputes, you and I had. Mm-hmm. They either began or ended with me saying, I don't understand how you don't care. Mm-hmm. Like I don't know what that feels like. I don't have a frame of reference. And it got to the point where Malcolm just broke it down to me. He's like, no, it's not like having a negative emotion towards something. It's having no emotion at all. And y'all, my mind is blown by that. I don't know what that feels like to not feel something about something. I think it's amazing. It's a superpower.
Is it? I think you have that inside of you. You just don't know how to describe it.
I don't know where it is.
Those times when you don't know what you want to eat, you don't care.
No, that's confusion.
That's not true, because then I give a suggestion. You're like,
exactly. I feel
and then
something.
you just say Papa John's, and that's what we're having.
Papa John's pizza slaps. Their sauce is amazing. But yeah, y'all, we'll have that conversation some other time, because that boggles my mind.
It's a great conversation.
And I know there's many of amazing people out there who cannot feel something about something. And I would love for you to tweet at me at Spoken Worship on Twitter and help me understand, because that is...
Well, if they don't care, they probably won't tweet you.
That's true. Okay, well, can you care about this thing and then help me understand? Because I really do think that's a superpower. All right, Malcolm, what have we talked about today?
Well, today we talked about forgiveness and boundaries. We talked about the different ways that you can decide where your boundaries are, the different reasons why you would need a boundary. Mm-hmm. We talked about what forgiveness is,
what it ain't,
mm-hmm. and what what is it like for a relationship to change as a result of an offense.
Yeah.
We also talked about how to choose. We more just talked about our struggles with choosing what to eat.
But I think we got down to why it happened.
Some of the core issues.
Yeah.
You know.
I would say this was a very philosophical conversation.
It was in a very fun kind of way. And that's the best way to have philosophical discussions.
Indeed.
So is that it? Are we done?
I think so.
Are you sure?
I think we did it. We did a thing.
Huh. Well, guys, thanks for joining us. This feels so short.
I know.
But don't worry. We'll be back again. And we hope you join us for the next episode of Let's Talk About It. I'm Malcolm.
And I'm Micah.
And we'll talk to you guys later.